Alright guys, welcome to the video. Thank you for watching. I've got a question for you which hopefully you guys can answer down below in the comment. Is it over for Xbox console sales? I mean, it's a division of Microsoft and they can still sell games digitally via Game Pass or Microsoft Gaming on every platform like a third-party developer, publisher. But in terms of console sales, is it over for Xbox consoles? I mean, ever since the release of the PlayStation 2, Sony's been ahead of the curve. The PS2 remains the best-selling console of all time, with over 155 million units sold globally, and things started to change with the PS3 and the 360 era. The gap between the two consoles narrowed significantly, but even though they narrowed, the PlayStation still managed to sell about 7.5 million units more than the Xbox 360. But while Microsoft was gaining ground, Sony kept its lead. And fast forward now to 2024, the numbers tell a familiar story. The PS5 has sold an impressive 61.7 million units worldwide, while the Xbox Series X and S combined have sold 28.3 million units, a massive margin of 3-1. Despite Xbox marketing the Series X as the most powerful console ever, it hasn't been enough to close the gap on PlayStation. In fact, the gap is getting bigger and bigger. So why has Xbox struggled so much? Especially given the Xbox Series X was marketed as the world's most powerful console. So why is it struggling? Why is it not shifting as many consoles as the PS5 or the PlayStation brand in general? For me, it's as clear as the nose on your face. The problem boils down to exclusive games, or rather the lack of them, the Xbox console. It's plain and simple, a lack of exclusive content is the reason why. In previous generations, Xbox was synonymous with games like Halo and Gears of War, and Forza of course, but in recent years we haven't really seen the same level of must-have, absolute die-hard exclusives from Xbox. When Halo and Gears of War came out, for the consoles that they released on back in the day, those games were breathtaking. They literally were console sellers. And I remember because I bought an original Xbox console just to play the Halo game when it came out. I think 2001, I believe it was, around that time. And I loved it. I played loads of games back in the day on the original Xbox console, even though I was heavily invested in the PlayStation ecosystem back then. And then in 2006, I bought the 360 because it was the only place I could play Gears of War. And again, even though I was heavily invested in the PlayStation ecosystem, I had a ton of fun on the 360 too, especially playing online because that was the first time I was really introduced to online gaming via the Xbox platform. Did you see what happened? Did you see that? I had to go out and buy an Xbox console to play its games. That doesn't happen now. It hasn't been happening for a long time, hence the decline in the Xbox consoles and possibly the Xbox brand as well. Another major factor to consider is Game Pass. While it's a good subscription service, if you've got kids, you don't have to buy games for them all the time, or if you've got someone who doesn't actually buy games, the sub service is fine. However, by subscribing and praying and hoping games drop into Game Pass, you don't have to buy games. Unintentionally, this is hurting the sales of the Xbox hardware. And also, why buy an Xbox Series X when you can stream those games on your PC or even your phone? And by having declining hardware sales, third-party publishers are even questioning what's the point in releasing on the Xbox platform when the install base is so low, resulting in Microsoft having to pay millions for third-party games to drop into Game Pass just to keep gamers fed with new games on a consistent basis. This further fueling Game Pass price hikes. And now on consoles, we've got advertisements and potentially future in-game advertisements too, as a result of all the spending Microsoft is doing on the Xbox gaming division. Billions in studio acquisitions, millions on third-party games dropping into Game Pass, failing Game Pass subscribers and failing hardware numbers, and the vicious cycle repeats itself. Reports and data suggest that Xbox has officially lost the console war, if you want to believe the war, not just to PlayStation but even to Nintendo Switch. And now Microsoft seems to be shifting its focus to making Game Pass the central pillar of its gaming strategy. So this could be a smart move in the long term as its console hardware continues to fail. The shift into releasing everything into Game Pass and then putting Game Pass everywhere could be a way out for Microsoft Gaming, perhaps not for Xbox. And perhaps releasing their games to every platform as a third-party developer is the way forward for Microsoft. It's important to note that Sony hasn't been without its own struggles too. In fact, despite selling more units, Sony has been forced to increase prices of the PS5 in several regions. In Japan, both versions of the PS5 saw a $90 increase, and in the US, the DualSense controllers went up by $5 too. And these price hikes are unusual in the gaming industry because consumers expect costs to go down as consoles age over time, not to have the console and accessory prices increase. Then there's the announcement of the PS5 Pro, which hasn't been received with too much enthusiasm from the wider gaming community, should we say. Many people felt the PS5 Pro is overpriced for what it offers, and the fact that there's a separate disk drive and the stand that has to be purchased separately for physical game collectors only adds to the frustration. However, as we've seen over the past week or so, the PS5 Pro game comparisons conducted by industry experts at Digital Foundry have clearly shown huge upsides in performance, frame rates, and graphical fidelity on the PS5 Pro versus the base PS5 model. And a few individuals have been completely embarrassed by trying to build a PC for less than the price of the PS5 Pro with equivalent PS5 Pro specs. In actual fact, a similar PC to what the PS5 Pro can actually offer will cost you north of $1,800 at the bare minimum. With PS5 Pro disc drives and stands selling out at major retailers worldwide, the anticipation for the Pro is already off the charts. PlayStation seems to be focusing its energy on keeping the console relevant. Yes, they will release games on PC. It's something new to PlayStation, even though they've been doing it for a few years. The strategy will continue to evolve on how and when it releases games on PC. Sony's had 30 years, the best part of 30 years releasing games onto console platforms. They've only had around 4 years releasing games on PC, so this strategy will evolve and they will continue to fine-tune it until they have something which works. So expect bumps, peaks and troughs on games that come out on PC. Expect different things, games coming out at the same time, games coming out a few months later, but expect all those things until they fine-tune it. If the games are multiplayer like Helldivers, then of course they will be day and date on console and PC. If they're single player games, there will be a delay for a PC release until the console sales drop off. Then we have the PlayStation PC launcher, which will launch either 2025 or 2026. It is happening, it's just a question of when rather than if. It's something that Sony will launch, but again, it's going to be which games are available to play on PC via the launcher versus which games are kept off the PC platform to keep the console relevant. Okay, it's all about keeping the console relevant, giving people a reason to buy a console. So you can see why people are buying PlayStations. If you don't buy them, then you won't be able to play the games, or you'll have to wait a long time for the games to release on PC. And if you remember earlier, I purchased the original Xbox and the 360 because I had to play those exclusive games like Halo and Gears of War, which couldn't be played anywhere else. I didn't complain like a bitch about it. I knew that if I wanted to play those games, I had to buy an Xbox console, and I did. And I go back to what I said at the start, exclusivity matters. It really does. Exclusivity drives the platform forward, and if you allow it to, the console platform grows and it allows more gamers to enter that platform. The biggest problem Xbox has right now is that the console is not being driven forward. You don't need the console to play Xbox games, as you can play your games virtually everywhere else, including, as we've seen recently, on the PlayStation. Right, as more games start to come onto PlayStation, you're going to be playing Xbox games on that platform. Another reason not to buy an Xbox console. In order to see increase in Xbox console sales and increase the player base, Microsoft needs to make the console hardware relevant. Make games exclusive to the platform. Imagine the next Gears of War, Halo, Forza, or even Elder Scrolls. Imagine those games coming out and being exclusive to the Xbox 720 or whatever the new Xbox is called. Imagine those games exclusive to that platform, not even available on PC or Game Pass. You want to play those games, buy the 720 Series X. Then after a year or so, they come to Game Pass and PC. Now watch those consoles fly off the shelves. It's not rocket science, is it? Gamers will buy consoles if they have to play console exclusive games. Like I say, it's what drives console sales. I don't want to see the Xbox console fall away. The industry needs competition, and we as gamers need competition. And I don't feel like Microsoft is doing that with the Xbox brand. I don't feel like Microsoft is competing at console level. Time will tell, especially with talk about a new Xbox system coming out in 2026. Let's see what happens over the coming months and see if there's any changes. I don't think there will be any changes. I think the trend will continue now. I hope I'm wrong. I really do need to see consoles in the marketplace. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll catch you on the next video.